With its vibrant cities, cosmopolitan population and wide range of economic activities, Gauteng Province may be the smallest province by land size in South Africa, but it makes the largest contribution to the country's GDP. Gauteng contributes 35% to South Africa's GDP. To link up to the National Development Plan Vision 2030, Gauteng has adopted a strategy of transformation, modernisation and re-industrialisation. Much of the realisation of this strategy will take place in the province's 5 main economic regions or corridors of development.
We proceed from the premise that Gauteng Province is a single integrated economy, and that's why we talk about the Gauteng City region. So the issue of the corridors of development is an important way of structuring this economy so that we can identify what type of economic activity, particularly what type of industries we want to promote in each of those areas, which is more compatible with our vision, which will help enhance the competitiveness of our economy.
Of course, the corridor development perspective is aligned with the demarcations of our municipalities to enhance planning and working together in integration.
I think that what the Premier has encouraged us to think about is firstly ways in which we can stimulate Gauteng's economy. We already know that 40% of the services sector is here in our province. There is still potential to grow the services sector not only in the province but also to grow Gauteng as a leading service sector provider across the continent of Africa. We are hoping that over the next 3 years we will see moderate growth in the province to about 2.8%. Obviously that does mean that we need to invest more in infrastructure. We have to prioritise the skills of our citizens. We've got to look at further reducing red tape, length of time for environmental impact, development applications, ease the cost of doing business.
Let's visit the 5 corridors to discover their unique contributions to the Gauteng economy. The economy of the Southern Corridor, historically known as the Vaal Triangle, was built on the fabricated metal and chemical sectors, best known for being the home of Eskom and Sasol. Due to decline and stagnation in the steel industry since the 1990s, the area has suffered a net loss in formal employment. It has become necessary to look at other drivers for economic growth.
So for the purpose of the future, yes, the steel industry will still play a role, but our vision is to diversify the Southern Corridor's economy. The Southern Corridor, again, the Vaal area, has also significant agricultural and agro-processing potential. What used to be called the maize triangle component of what comes from the Free State and Mpumalanga is also located there. But we want to particularly build agro-processing capacity in the Vaal, the areas such as the Mid-Vaal now and the local municipality of Mfuleni. There's a significant agro-processing that's already happening in those areas. We also want to diversify the Vaal economy, the Sidibeng economy, the Southern Corridor's economy by anchoring new industrial activity along the banks of the Vaal River, where we are building what we call the new post-apartheid city, the Vaal, the River City.
Vaal River City is South Africa's first planned post-apartheid mega city. Through a public-private partnership, this new mixed-use development will house 400,000 square meters of commercial office space, a 60,000 square meter retail and leisure component, 20 hectares of park areas including a bird sanctuary, and 5,000 residential units. This will stretch along a 6-kilometer riverfront expanse from the upper end of Vanderbijl Park, Sharpeville and Mfuleni City through to Sasolburg and the Vaal. Vaal River City will also be home to a new local government precinct, including municipal offices, a court of law, government departments and services. Down the line, there are plans to build 2 universities in the area. The plans are progressing well, and the developer estimates the costs for the construction site to run to 11 billion rand in 5 to 10 years from now. The entire economic impact is likely to be around 20 billion.
The idea, when we first purchased the land, it was a big opportunity for us. One, it's right next to the river, and then hence the concept came about to say that let's make a city where people can be able to access natural resources that under normal circumstances they are not, they don't have. I think the government also had initially been planning to do something different from for the Vaal, but we ended up having the same vision with government without even knowing. And then we went to present our ideas to them, and it was just a fit for both parties, that this is the idea that can help the people of City Bay in terms of economic development and so on.
And our role there is to go into that project and say, what are the investments that we are going to put there, following the precinct model in the river city, to make sure that when that city comes into place, government facilities are there to provide support and service to the people that need them. Yes, hospitals, schools, clinics, road infrastructure. So the road and transport logistics are quite critical to that. So we're going to be looking at the river city as a critical project.
The promotion of government, as you know, is that we want to integrate different kinds of people living within the same area. People that are working as just cashiers within, let's say, a hotel, needs to stay not far from a hotel. Unlike what is currently happening is that a person works in Sandton City, but they have to travel all the way to Katlehong, which is a long distance. So the integration will have people that earn little to people that can afford to buy a property.
I think it's going to be a mixed bag. It's going to be a lot of business, commercial and residential, but with a special flavour, being on the Vaal River itself, which is a beautiful location, especially to give access to the ordinary people that don't have access to a river system like the Vaal. Historically, the whole barrage area is really made up of private properties, and the people who would like to enjoy the river in boating and so on don't find it that easily. I think that's going to give great opportunity in the area in terms of some tourism opportunity.
In there, what we want to do is to create an entertainment hub in Gauteng. So many people in Gauteng, we are a landlocked province. When people have to have some entertainment and leisure, especially around water, they have to go all the way either to Durban or to Cape Town. So the Vaal River, it's our resource, apart from the fact that the Vaal Dam provides water resources for our province. We're building, there's new developments around the Vaal River to create an entertainment and leisure industry there, so that weekends the people of this province can easily go to the south of Gauteng to have a sense, a bit of relaxation. The industries around the river there would be a critical area.
Vaal River City is set to attract further development and economic activities to the area.
I think it's going to do great things for the region. I mean, if you look at Steyn City alone, we created in excess of 11,000 jobs over a short period of time. Those areas, especially in the south, they really lack investment and confidence from the private sector. And I think this is going to do a great deal to bring not only investors and tourists, but it's going to generate a lot of local jobs that are so dearly needed. I don't think it's going to be very different to what we've done here at Steyn City. So I think it's going to be much more highly densified, and it's going to have more identification housing. And I think it should be able to provide that number of job opportunities, in my view.
There's a massive project that's going on of infrastructure there that people may not be aware of. The improvement of the City Bay sewer scheme. So the upgrade of sewer infrastructure in Sedibeng is one of the biggest infrastructure initiatives that we're looking at in that part of the province. There's a massive human settlement development in Midvaal area known as Savannah City. Its future growth and development depend on what we do with sewer upgrades in Sedibeng. So in that area, the key 80% factor to turn around the Sedibeng, the southern corridor, is the water treatment plants upgrades. And of course, there's also another consequential impact negative on the Vaal River Dam. There are affluents that goes into the Vaal River Dam because of the old infrastructure networks that are causing all sorts of problems and affecting businesses around the Vaal River Dam. So that issue, we're looking at it. Of course, we're working with our sister department in water and sanitation, local government, many of them. So that's a key issue for that area.
Sedibeng is also an important, it's situated between the N1 to Mangaung, Cape Town, that's the Bloemfontein, and the N3 to Durban. So it's also an important logistics area for purposes of the logistics sector. We're also working with the municipalities there to invest in freight and logistics hubs along those major routes, national routes in the Vaal as well. So the diversification of the Sedibeng and the economy, the southern corridor, is something that we think we will achieve in this term, so that it moves away from just relying on the steel industry and those associated secondary industries that have suffered in a big way as a result of the decline of the steel industry.
Vaal River City may be the first post-apartheid mega-city in development, but it certainly won't be the last.
These are important because they will help us to build social cohesion. There will be a mixed type of use. We'll also have sustainability, and it will not just be about houses only there. It will also about economic activities that can place there, so there will be industries as well. They will also contribute towards growing Gauteng further and creating more space, because Gauteng is affected by in-migration. A lot of people come here looking for job opportunities, and we are forced to provide shelter for them. There's requirements like schools and all that and all that. So we hold them new economic nodes, and they're important for growing our economy, for diversifying it, and for creating opportunities for as many people as possible.
If you look at the South African cities, how they've been designed and planned, they have been very exclusive. The city center is always away from where people are staying. So people are traveling all the time towards the cities. They go back home afterwards. So it's been very designed according to people being excluded from participating in the economy. So in this particular city that we're trying to build in Vaal, we're trying to make a special transformation of the city, whereby we're going to include the city center together with residential within one particular area. So basically the concept is actually that it's a special transformation of what has been before in terms of the country.
So the post-apartheid cities idea is to build new nodes, residential as well as economic nodes, where we will bring all different South Africans in there. So people will live side by side, integrate communities in those areas. In Tshwane, I spoke at the State of the Province address about the new automotive city at Roslyn, where Roslyn will not just be an industrial hub, but we also want to locate people there and build a new post-apartheid city around Roslyn. The people who have to travel very far to Soshanguve, Mabopane, who work there in Roslyn must live there in Roslyn. And we're using also public transport investments. The investment in public transport infrastructure is a catalyst for this new post-apartheid cities.
Massive infrastructure in the area of transport and roads in the Mabopane area. You know, already there's a Mabopane train station there, but there's still a need to do great developments. We will have to come into that space around Roslyn, and that's going to be quite critical because you're going to require government services there together with the human settlement development. I must say that one of the big problems that we've had historically is to have human settlements that are not supported by social service infrastructure. So you'll have a community without a clinic, without a school. So if there's a city planned around an existing economy of the automotive sector around Roslyn, it's one area where we're going to have to move into and make sure that whatever development that's put there by our sister department, human settlement, we come in as infrastructure development and pull all other required services and bring them into that space.
So that's our mission. In every part of Gauteng, we would like what we would see as new investments in infrastructure that must give rise to a more integrated economic node where people will live much closer to where they work. That's what the notion of the post-apartheid cities is about.
What's also important is the investment that we're making in the transport sector, in our road infrastructure. We obviously want to have better linkages. We've got fairly good north-south linkages. We're interested in east-west linkages, upgrading of, we've just finished a major upgrade of the N12 that opens up the western part of the country.
The Northern Corridor is home to Tshwane, which was largely an administrative, diplomatic and academic city 30 years ago. The public sector dominated the economy.
From an industrial point of view, the city had not developed what it has developed now. Industrial capabilities, including innovation. It is the capital of innovation in South Africa. Some of the best research, R&D institutions are located in Tshwane now. Some of the best universities and public sector research institutions, the CSIR, are located there in Tshwane. The University of Pretoria, which is a key research institution driving innovation in many areas. The University of Southern Africa, the Tshwane University of Technology, they are located there. And that gives us the advantages to shift that Tshwane economy into a more knowledge-based and innovation-driven economy. And at the heart of that is what we have already achieved in a decade and a half, to build significant automotive capabilities in Tshwane. The car manufacturers were based either in Durban or in East London or Port Elizabeth. But now we produce 42% of cars manufactured in South Africa are produced out of Tshwane. So Roslyn has developed from nothing into a major automotive hub. And just that shows us that with active, carefully worked out industrial policy, where government deliberately take action to say, we want this sector to grow, we need to put infrastructure, we need to put incentives, we can turn around the entire South African economy. We can build, so that the point we're making about the VAL, the Southern Corridor, that we can build new industries there, this point is confirmed by the fact that in Tshwane we have built a very competitive, a globally competitive automotive sector that's now doing very well.
It's now contributing about 7% into our economy, and we want to focus on manufacturing of components, because most of the cars that are in the country are not manufactured here. We just assemble. Most of the components are produced elsewhere and are brought here just to be assembled. About 35% of the components are produced locally, and 65 is from the rest of the world. And we want to work systematically to change that.
Prominent in the automotive sector is BMW Group South Africa, which has been present in South Africa for 48 years and has been building the 3 Series at Roslyn since 1994. The group recently announced that it will be investing 6 billion rand to build a new body shop adjacent to its existing plant where the next generation X3 SUV will be built. 1 in 3 cars in the world today is an SUV-type vehicle, and BMW is confident that this trend will continue and that it is even likely to overtake sedan sales soon. The X3 will come off the production line before 2020 and is intended for local and export markets.
We don't export any 3 Series sedan into Africa. So X3 is a more relevant car for markets like Nigeria and Kenya. So we will look to export from here to Sub-Sahara. So this is a first for BMW. Again, job creation, because we have to move these cars to the ports and then up to these Sub-Sahara markets. Sub-Sahara, I believe, will take off because we'll begin to start doing financing for customers, which currently isn't done. That'll be done out of South Africa. We'll certainly do joint ventures with Standard Bank, Absa, Wesbank. This means, again, opportunities for South Africa. Our call centre will be based here as well. So again, we call it the hub. So BMW South Africa will be the hub for the African continent.
This is a very important project, as you know. This is a 6 billion rand investment by one of the international company, BMW, who are quite excited about this prospect. We've always been saying as a government of South Africa that we are open for business, and our efforts towards attracting investment is beginning to bear fruits. We are beginning to look into the prospect of how can we get as many black entrepreneurs as possible under the Black Industrialist Program to participate and supply some of the parts here. We are basically beginning to say how do we push companies like BMW to ensure that they double their efforts around issues of localization so that they can make a meaningful contribution to the work that we are doing as government.
BMW in South Africa, we support about 42,000 jobs across the plant, across the network and our supply chain. We want to increase local content significantly on the X3 against the 3 Series. That alone will mean more suppliers coming on stream. That will mean more jobs. That will mean better creation for South Africa. So, I think this is a win-win for all of us. The opportunity is there for companies to come forward. We're planning to have a supplier day where we want to talk to companies to come and pitch for the new X3. So the opportunity is there. Come and get it.
Although BMW believes that it already employs one of the best skilled workforces in the country, a new technical training centre will be built for continuous skills development. A new backup IT data centre is also on the cards.
The challenge is to train and upskill our people and maintenance department to master the new technology and the new equipment. But for that reason, we have a very good collaboration model within the global BMW production network. So we will send our people to the headquarters in Munich in Germany and to our partner plant in Spartanburg in the US as well to ensure the right education and upskilling.
From the projections that are being discussed, there are a lot of job opportunities that are going to be provided by this plant. At this point, they are working out the numbers in order for them to be able to say to us concretely, these are a number of permanent jobs that are going to be created into this particular plant. But for now, the fact that we've got a 6 billion rand investment is a plus to our economy, and it's a sign of confidence that the work that we've been doing around the auto sector as government broadly is beginning to yield results.
Manufacturing in the SADC region. It is ideally placed for re-industrialisation, with an efficient flow of goods and services made possible by the Aerotropolis and inland ports.
We know, back to the story of de-industrialization at the beginning of the 1990s, when the South African economy was opening up because of the end of apartheid, there was significant de-industrialization in Ekurhuleni. In other words, industrial manufacturing capacity by many firms and many sectors of the economy was undermined by opening up our economy. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't open up the economy. It's impossible in the global economy. We connected to the global economy. So over that period of time, we have lost significant edge with regard to manufacturing. So what are we doing now?
We are interested in transforming our manufacturing industry. I think we already know that there are some key sectors, for example, the manufacture of mining equipment that allows us to leverage on our historical past and the particular skill set and know-how that we have, but also provides opportunities for growth on the African continent. 13% of our trade involves the sale of manufactured goods on the African continent, in particular mining manufacturing equipment.
Some of the infrastructure requirements is what business generally needs, like good roads, electricity, water, internet connectivity. So we will be investing in that. But we're also looking at transport and logistics. We've got what we call the Tambo Springs logistics in Ekurhuleni. And we also have Gauteng has about 18 airports, and many people don't know because they just know Lanseria and OR Tambo. Some know the Rent Airport. And these small little airports, if we coordinate them properly, get them into good working conditions, the rail infrastructure that we have, we should be able to position ourselves in such a way that we are able to efficiently and quickly transport these goods that are being processed here.
So what we call the Erythropolis as a significant intervention by the provincial government and the city of Ekurhuleni as part of developing advanced manufacturing capabilities which is linked to OR Tambo being a logistics hub for Africa, the biggest and busiest airport in our continent. So the location of various industries, including advanced manufacturing, including the electronics, including manufacturing for transport equipment for the continent, manufacturing for mining equipment again for the continent, significant manufacturing of petrochemicals and plastics again for the continent. That industrial capability is still there in Ekurhuleni. So in the last few years, and particularly in the last year and a half, we have been working as a province and the city and national government using the parcels of lands the land owned by government there to revitalize that, invest in infrastructure that's going to attract a lot of foreign investors to come and put up plants there so that they can manufacture here, right close to the airport where the logistics of moving the goods and services is very good. OR Tambo is being expanded. AXA is working with us. Dinel is also in the same space, investing in manufacturing of related to the defense industry. So we've got a number of companies that are now looking at OR Tambo within the framework of the Erythropolis, working with us about building new industrial capabilities for advanced manufacturing. And these issues are supported by research that for purpose going forward, we've got good research reports, one of which is the McKinsey Global's, the big five key sectors of the economy that South Africa can drive employment and growth through. We also have another report by JP Morgan and Chase, the Brookings Institute in partnership with JP Morgan Chase, that show that the Gauteng City region idea and the development corridors that we're talking about now have a scientific basis. We can build an economy that's extremely competitive, that links very well into Africa, that enhances our capabilities for export, so that we, in the southern tip of our continent, South Africa must continue to be a key player in Africa's industrialization. South Africa and Gauteng economy must continue to drive regional integration. We must continue to drive infrastructure development as well and investments into our own continent. So these corridors, so Ekurhuleni is going to be a very key player in our move into the continent and our integration into SADC as the manufacturing hub of the SADC region. There's a new port, inland port, that's being built in Ekurhuleni, in an area there that we're working with Transnet on that, but we also have City Deep. We moved millions of tons of goods through Gauteng into the continent, coming from the ports, coming from Durban in particular, coming into our province and then moving these goods into the different parts of our continent. So that's an important capability as well, expanding that capability to ensure that Gauteng, what we don't have as a sea, as a port, we make up through investing in the inland port capabilities. And we think our capability now to handle large amounts of goods that are moving through our province into the continent, that capability is better.
The Central Corridor, which includes Johannesburg and Sandton, is the hub for Gauteng's finance, ICT and pharmaceutical industries. Construction is also big, with many buildings and developments going up and road infrastructure upgrades taking place.
Johannesburg is Africa's pride. It's the most dynamic city in our continent, the most diverse city, the most cosmopolitan, the most Afropolitan city. That Africans choose whether they want to go to Europe or to America, or to come to South Africa and locate in Johannesburg, not only for economic activity, but also because they find the place very inclusive, very dynamic. Those who want to showcase their cultural and artistic capabilities, sports, they choose to come to Johannesburg from the rest of the continent, but from the rest of the country. It has been like that for a century, a dynamic city that is always on the move. If you have ambition, you want to realize your dreams, the place to go to is Johannesburg. So the Central Corridor is a dynamic cultural and economic space as well. And we want to keep it that way.
The key issue, as I said, in the Central Corridor, one thing that we're looking at there is the renewal of the inner city of Johannesburg. And we're looking at an estimated 6 billion worth of Kopanong precinct, which people have been talking about, but at this point, we have made huge strides in the sense that the things that we needed to deal with compliance, supply chain, management policies, capacity to deliver this project, all those things are in place. So in the Central Development Corridor, I'll say that the Kopanong precinct revitalization and renewal of the inner city of Johannesburg is going to be quite critical. And included in that is a project that we're going to start with universities, including UJ and VETS, to look at student accommodation, and also the properties that are owned by government that are currently not being utilized. We're going to reclaim those back.
There are several big private developments going up in the Central Corridor. One of them is Steyn City, between William Nicol and Cedar Roads. It is a predominantly residential development, but it is making a large impact on the economy of the immediate area.
Specifically to Diepsloot and Cosmo City, you know, one of the first things we did at Steyn City when we started breaking ground is we went to the communities of Diepsloot and Cosmo City, and we asked them to open a labour desk at Steyn City, in which we funded Steyn City. And out of that labour desk, the stats show in excess of 11,000 jobs coming from that immediate community. Initially, you need a lot of construction and labour and so on and so forth. But as the development matures, you're going to have thousands of homes that are going to need attending to. You need gardeners, you need management, there's so many things to do. And of course, then you've got forever maintenance of all these properties, and never mind the commercial and the clubhouse and so on and so forth.
Not far from Steyn City is the Waterfall City development, with the huge Mall of Africa which recently opened for business. The Waterfall development is ideally placed between Tshwane and Johannesburg.
The total developable bulk we've got at the moment is 1.8 million square meters, of which roughly 600,000 has been developed up to now, with the remaining 1.2 million squares to be developed over the next 10 to 15 years. If you look at present value terms, just building wise, if we look at the remaining 1.2 million square meters we need to develop, you're looking at a capex number of about 24 billion. Obviously that is in today's terms. If you look at the potential of business it can generate, the multiplier effect, I mean if you look at the businesses that's going to be tenants within the building, you're looking at present value terms about 90 billion rand. And what is very unique, I think over the lifespan of this development, you're going to actually create jobs for 70,000 people during construction, and long-term potentially 86,000 jobs. Predominantly, we've developed the Mall of Africa. It's 130,000 squares. That forms part of what we call the Waterfall City, which is going to be the new CBD of Gauteng. We have built already a new Novartis head office, the Maxwell Office Park. We're under construction with the new head office for PwC, that's about 45,000 squares. And the Waterfall Park plus Mall of Africa will form the nucleus of this new city, and the whole new city will be developed around that. Then we also have started around the Buccleuch interchange to do some industrial development.
To the south of Johannesburg, along the N12 towards Potchefstroom, there are big plans for Masingita City, which will integrate Soweto, Lenasia and Western area.
As you know, Soweto was on the outskirts, and those people who were staying in Soweto, they were forced to drive to the cities or commute to the cities on a daily basis. So with the changes that are coming now, we want to create facilities for people around that area so that they can say, we do have our own city within our doorsteps. So it's a city with, housing development, with, industrial areas, with, all other things that, comes into play when, you develop a city. It's an integrated development. If you look at, the direct impact that, is going to, happen there, it's that, we're going to create, serious jobs, 25 to 30,000, during construction. And after, construction, you're going to create almost, 40,000 permanent jobs. So you can see that, people within the surroundings are going to benefit. People are no longer going to travel on a daily basis to the cities. Because you see, we'll be creating some industrial areas as well. You'll invite, younger business entrepreneurs to come and start, creating their own jobs.
Property development, whether residential, retail or industrial, isn't all that the Central Corridor has going for it.
The most dynamic financial institutions in the continent are located here, and we want to keep it like that. The services industry, which is now the key employer, the biggest employer in the Gauteng economy, is in services, professional services. Some of the best professional capabilities you find in Africa's economy are located in this corridor, the central corridor of Johannesburg. But there are also new additional capabilities that this Johannesburg has accumulated. The ICT industry, located largely in Midrand, in the CBD of Johannesburg, as well as in Sandton. The ICT sector is also a critical driver. Some of the world's biggest ICT companies doing business in Africa and in Asia are located here in Johannesburg. We want to keep it that way so that it is attractive also for the ICT industry. But what we also want to enhance through innovation, investing in innovation to enhance South Africa's capabilities to contribute to the ICT industry. The Mayor of Johannesburg is very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about ensuring that we We invest we get young people in the city of Johannesburg, especially from the townships, who have an inclination to IT, to also be some of our innovators, to develop applications to solve problems. Problems in the township economy, problems in the bigger economies, to provide solutions to healthcare and education, to develop applications and ICT solutions for our service delivery problems. So ICT is key.
The pharmaceutical sector, with its biomedical capabilities, is another important contributor to the Gauteng economy in the Central Corridor.
This is also working together with Tshwane's Innovation Hub capabilities and Ekurhule's industrial capabilities to create new sectors of the economy beyond what we have today. So what I see is that Johannesburg will continue to be the key driver. Johannesburg contributes 16% to South Africa's national economy. Tshwane contributes 10%, Ekurhuleni 6%. So we have cities that have their own distinct capabilities. They are big, they are key leaders, especially in the continent. They are key players in the global economy, in many areas of our economy, in many areas of government performance, including in dealing with sustainability and in the environment.
The economy of the Western Corridor traditionally depended on mining. It started with the discovery of gold along the Witwatersrand Reef, which stretches from Springs in the East Rand to Carletonville in the West Rand. This reef drew prospectors and investors to this part of the world and gave birth to the City of Gold.
We started as a mining economy, but we know we have transited quite profoundly and dramatically away from mining into the tertiary sectors of our economy. So the West Rand, whose primary economy was based on mining, has also evolved. Now mining, there's major changes that have happened in the mining sector. As in this province, I think mining still employs lots of people in the West Rand, but there's been significant decline because mining activity has shifted to the platinum group of metals in Limpopo and the Northwest, and the coal mining has continued to be driven from Mpumalanga and Limpopo as well. So there's some mining activity in Gauteng, in the West Rand, but we know, looking ahead, we have to diversify that economy because it has also de-industrialized. Many jobs lost, impacting quite severely on the people of the West Rand. Also, mining dams have impacted severely on the environment and the health of the people there.
Sectors identified for economic development in the West include agriculture, aquaculture, agro-processing, renewable energy and tourism. Major investments in the Lanseria Airport Logistics Hub will support this expansion.
There are opportunities there for massive infrastructure, particularly road networks. If you look at that area, the rail line footprint need to be sufficiently upgraded to be able to make sure that we can integrate Merafong, Western area, Mohali City and Randfontein.
So then here comes the idea of what should be the vision about the new economy of the West Rand and how does it articulate with the entire Gauteng City region. We have come to the conclusion that although we will continue to engage with the mining sector to see how we can take full advantage of what's still there to help the sector there, ensure that mining takes place under acceptable ecological conditions, but we have identified tourism as a critical sector that has potential. The West Rand is the home of Homona Ladies, the home of Maruping, our own, our source of pride as Africans, that Africa is the home of humanity, the origin of humanity. And in the last year alone, the potential of tourism has been confirmed. Since the discovery of Homona Lady, there's been significant inflow of tourists into the area. So we are going to invest in infrastructure. It must be easy for people to travel. So we are investing in expanding particularly public transport infrastructure. But we also want to draw in the township people there to do business. You know, one thing about tourism as a sector is that everything is possible. You can start just as a small business person who sets up something around maruping and find that over time you're really able to feed your own family. You can build a sustainable business. So for the potential of the tourism sector in the West Rand, we're working with the municipalities there to also have a particular type of tourism linked to the history of the mines in the area. Not just maruping and the origin of ourselves as humanity.
There is significant agricultural activity in the area of Magaliesburg and certain parts of Merafong. Yet there is still huge potential for further agricultural and agro-processing development. Current agricultural activities include cattle farming, vegetables and flour production for export to Europe.
We now want to introduce other, new areas of farming as well. Prawn farming, aquaculture in the area. There is a small project that shows that you can actually produce a fish here for the Gauteng market. So we're working with those who own pieces of land in the West Rand. I've been having a conversation with a few farmers, people who own pieces of land there, to say to them, especially closer to Lanseria, because the development of Lanseria Airport and the Lanseria city is also linked, in addition to bringing new industries that are linked to that logistics hub called Lanseria, which is an important portion of the western part of the Erythropolis. Linked to that, it's the need to ensure that there is some significant urban farming activity, to use pieces of land there to produce food, to do packaging of vegetables, both for local market but also for export into SADC. So there's real potential, and there's lots of excitement I'm picking up in the area about the farmers there who, if we work with them well, and we will work with them well, we can upscale and turn around that economy so that it doesn't depend only on mining activity. So the main anchor there is going to be the Lanseria as a major new economic node. Lanseria city is going to be the main anchor for that West Rand economy.
Well, funny enough, the southern and the western corridor, despite the fact that they are big on agriculture, we would want to continue helping the southern and the western corridor to strengthen their position in agriculture. But not just agriculture, both the regions, we want to build new economies. Already they're strong on tourism. We want to look at other economies. For instance, in the western corridor, you've got old mine dams, and we think we could convert some of the waste there to produce things like paper. We think that instead of focusing on mining, let's rather focus on mining equipment, manufacturing, and they could supply the rest of the country and the continent.
If you understand what we're doing we also want to ensure that we densify Gauteng. Where you have vast tracts of land and there's no development, we want to bring in new industries. We are taking renewable energy into the West Rand. That's another key sector. So all those who want to build plants, renewable energy plants, and one of the projects we are taking into the West Rand, it's a project on a solar plant, because the mining activity has created difficulties with the land, the land in the West Rand. We have major problems with that land, but you can't do heavy industry in those areas, but you can do light industry, like setting up a solar plant, vast tracts of land where we can set up a solar plant in the West Rand. We will set up a number of renewable energy projects there in the West Rand as part of the diversification. So the West Rand has a future as well.
With all the development and infrastructural maintenance that is required to keep Gauteng growing and enriching the lives of its inhabitants, from a financial perspective, collaboration between public and private sectors is essential.
There's no way government will have enough money to do this, to undertake this. Firstly, there's lots of pieces of land that's privately owned across the Gauteng city region, and we are a landlocked province. You know, we don't have enough land. We only occupy 1.4% of South Africa's land, so we have very, very small area. Land is scarce in Gauteng. So, and the pieces of land that are in the hands of private developers, we can only develop this province better if we have one plan, one vision, spatial vision, one plan about where are we building new economic nodes, and where are we building new industrial and commercial hubs, and where are we building new houses and residential areas for people. So we need the private sector, firstly, from the point of view of the land, that those who own land, they can't just dispose of this land and do things that are not part of our vision, part of our plan. So we need their partnership.
You know, as we know, government and municipalities are stretched for funds to develop infrastructure. And the fact of the matter is, if you do not develop the infrastructure, no development is going to take place. And through direct consequences of that, you're not going to create any jobs either. So I think we're all in it together, and I think from a private business point of view, I think it's important from our point of view to hold hands with government and work together to see and to participate to make infrastructure available for development, because without that, we're not going anywhere. And I think it's the most important thing for the private sector to hold hands with government to enhance the possibilities in this country.
What kills us in this country is that, you know, people are dependent, you know, on being employed. So we want a situation whereby, you know, people are going to be able to start creating jobs so that they can employ other people. That's the only way we can help, you know, the government. And at the same time, this government is, you know, ready to assist in terms of bulk infrastructure. We've been talking to the Premier, and the Premier is very helpful, you know, along those lines.
Our cities are playing a very, very important role. So I continue to dream Johannesburg is that place where South Africans from all walks of life and Africans from all over the continent must derive pleasure. They must feel that, you know what, this is the city we want to be in. It's the city where if you have ambition, if you have a dream, you can realize your dream. It's the most accommodative. Of course, there's still tensions, problems of social cohesion, racism, xenophobia, but I say there's no city in South Africa that is like Johannesburg. The most dynamic, the most diverse. If you go to Maboneng in the evening, that part of the city of Johannesburg, and see how many South Africans from all walks of life and Africans from all walks and tourists from Asia and Europe. If you go to Soweto, Vilakazi Street, and see how dynamic it is, it represents the future for me.
The only thing that's missing is the confidence in the country, and that's what the private sector can do, is to play along and work with government to ensure that the confidence and the investment and the security of investment in this country gets preserved and encouraged.
If everything goes according to plan, business confidence, ongoing investment and sustained infrastructure development will keep Gauteng on a path of growth. For the cosmopolitan people who call the province home, economic development will increase job opportunities and encourage entrepreneurship. For visitors and tourists, there are plenty of leisure, cultural, natural and wildlife experiences on tap. Since the days of the first gold rush, this area has held a mystique, and it has exercised a magnetic pull with its promise of bright lights and opportunity.